Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to HitScan and welcome to another Omen video. This is something that we've never actually done before, a bit of a format that I wanted to try out. The gameplay in the background is from somebody called Dins. Dins has been a long-term viewer, a guinea pig for a lot of the stuff that we've wanted to do in the past, but this is Dins' first tactical shooter. He's had no experience in the likes of Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six. In this video, I'm going to highlight two core components and two big mistakes that Dins is making. But not only are we going to highlight the mistakes on what he's doing wrong, we're going to compare that to somebody that's doing it right, showing off some in inverted commas pro plays from well-known streamers and even pros in other games. In this video, we will be using the example of Hiko, a great educational streamer if you're looking for somebody to watch and learn from. His Twitch is linked in the description and comments below. Before we jump in, I wanted to mention the areas of the map that we'll be talking about in this video. The main area of contention is Hookah, which is here on the minimap and where I currently am on screen. We will then also be talking about Ramp, which is all of this outside area to this doorway, and I also mentioned the Fountain, which is this B lobby section around this corner, and then of course you have B long, which is down here, just in case you didn't know. The first major area I wanted to talk about was defending, especially taking engagements when you're defending when you really don't need to, and this is a mistake that Dins actually did quite a few times. We'll play out the scenario and talk about what went wrong in this particular example. The first thing that happens is that Dins' teammate, the Silver, fires out a recon bolt which shows up the enemy Viper. Not only that, but the Viper is holding onto the spike. This is pretty big intel. You know that the attacking team want to try and push onto the site that you're holding, so prepare, basically. But what ends up happening is that Dins wants to take an engagement around this corner. He's trying to decide whether he wants to curveball around it, and then the Silver fires out his Eldrun, which pretty much gets instantly killed by somebody around this corner. Again, Dins is uncertain on what he wants to do, but eventually curveballs, fires around this corner, there's nobody there, and then the enemy Sage comes out, gets into this really awkward duel where, to be honest, both of you kind of screwed up, but narrowly Dins goes down, the Sage survives with very little health. But if Dins was playing against a better player, he would lose that fight 100% of the time, and I kind of want to talk about why and why that's a problem. Dins knows that there's somebody around this corner, yet he doesn't necessarily know where they are. If I'm being Dins here, the enemy could be on the left hand side by these boxes, they could be holding really close on the right hand side, could be holding on the right towards where Fountains is, the right side of the door in front of me, the left side of the door, all of these different angles, an enemy could be waiting for me to peek. So let's say that there's 4 different options that the enemy could be stood in. It's probability. You have a 25% chance of getting it right. That's if you're peeking in the right positions at least anyway. And now compare that to the chances of this Sage that's going up against you. Where could Dins be pushing from? There's maybe down here that somebody could push from if you're not careful, but from the position that the Sage is stood, the one major area that she needs to keep an eye on is going to be the doorway that Dins comes out of. So the probability of her aiming in the right direction versus the probability of Dins aiming in the right direction, it's giving the Sage a huge advantage, and advantageous positions are what tactical shooters are all about. Not to mention that you and the Silver on your team give away exactly what you're trying to do. The Silver scouts out twice towards Ramp, the recon bolt shows off that there's a Viper there, and then the Eldrun gets killed instantly. That act in itself is giving the enemy a lot of information about where you and Silver are stood. Not to mention that the Silver on your team walks a little bit, making some clumping noises that the enemy can hear. So the Silver on your team kind of baits you a little bit here, Dins, but you also need to bear in mind that you're using Curveball, which is a nice telegraph to tell the opponent, hey, I'm going to flash around this corner and peek it shortly afterwards. You flash it, the Sage isn't there, but she knows that there's likely going to be somebody around that corner. She swings out, narrowly kills you, but a better player knows to pre-aim exactly where you'd be stood, and you get instantly headshot and killed. Most certainly by better players. And this goes into a whole can of worms and a big problem that people have with tactical shooters, especially when they're playing it for the first time. I know because this was my biggest problem when I first started learning Counter-Strike. Miska helped a lot with this, and we called it floating. It's just a similar scenario to the one that we went over before, but this time nobody stood in this doorway. So Dins decides to try and scout it out. He spots that there is somebody towards B long and Fountains, tries a few pot shots from distance, but gets killed by somebody holding on to the bottom of that ramp area. There's really no chance for Dins to win that engagement. And guess what? It happens again. So what is Din's doing wrong? What mistake is he making and what should he be doing instead? Well, it's similar to what I said before about picking angles and knowing where the enemy's holding, but allow me to demonstrate. What Dins does here and in multiple times in this game is floating. It's kind of like sleepwalking onto a site or in a dangerous area without even being aware of how exposed you are and where you're exposed from. This is a real game sense issue, and if you don't have that game sense, it doesn't matter if you're new to the game, it doesn't matter if you're Shroud or Simple. You put yourself in the most disadvantageous position you could be in, and 9 times out of 10 you will lose that engagement unless you do it properly. Here's the example with Dins. He is stood out in the open looking towards Fountain, but he is completely exposed from somebody pushing towards the bottom of ramp, this doorway. He's also given away where he is because he was firing at the enemy towards the Fountain area on B long. So Dins is overexposing himself really badly here from multiple different angles. But he does this quite a lot actually when he's attacking onto the A site of Bind. But because Dins is so new to tactical shooters like a lot of you, he isn't aware just how much danger he is in. And to really show that, I actually wanted to head to Counter-Strike real quick. This is the map Mirage from Counter-Strike. And if you push up the ramp, this is what floating looks like. Just kind of sleepwalking onto a site, being exposed from multiple different angles that an enemy will be holding and can easily kill you from. And you're not really aware of where they are or where they could be stood. So how do you deal with this? Well, the reason why I wanted to show this off in Mirage is there was a workshop map that allows people to practice peeking corners and pushing onto a site properly, which is what I'm showing you now. This workshop allows you to sort of see where people can be stood, and if you're pushing onto a site, what corners you need to check in what order. It's kind of a checklist. Is there going to be somebody holding on to the side of stairs? Is there going to be somebody on the top of stairs? Is there going to be somebody right around this corner? It allows you to take those engagements step by step and really work out, okay, here are all of the positions that an enemy can be standing in, and from playing the game, you get more experience on where people tend to hold. If you just run onto a site like I am doing here, you could just see how easy it is for the bots to shoot me from a crossfire from multiple different angles. So what you have to do is isolate those angles one by one and just check them off. Is this place safe? Okay, cool, move on to the next one. And it's slow incremental movements to try and clear any angles that you can. Here is a clip from Counter-Strike from pro player Elise who plays for Team Liquid, doing this in real time, showing how to isolate those angles one by one, find out where the enemy is, and then just headshot them forehead. And you can and should be doing this in Valorant, and this is why I wanted to highlight this play from Hiko. This wasn't a game that I sought out, this was literally happening on his stream when I tuned in to try and find a clip. And this is him pushing through hookah. You can see all of the different angles that he's checking, all of the places that he needs to be aware of, and one by one he's just going, okay, this area is safe, there's somebody by CT, so I'm just going to hold here, keep an eye on them, okay, I killed them, I'm going to move somewhere else. He's not just running through hookah out into the open like Dins does, he is carefully selecting those engagements. And being a bit more decisive and disciplined to do that will stop you from floating and will win you more fights. When I'm playing with friends that are very new to this kind of genre, like I have been over the past couple of weeks, they also do it. And none of them are even aware that what they're doing is even a mistake. And sure, you can get away with it a little bit because Valorant is such a new game, but eventually you need to learn how to peek corners properly and how to do it safely and smartly. It's something that was really important to me and an area that I struggled with when I was learning Counter-Strike that I would love to be able to help a lot of you guys that are very new to tactical shooters to be able to get over this hurdle as soon as possible. And I personally think that this is a great thing to learn and practice, certainly in the times where ranked isn't a serious component of the game and not everybody is even in the game yet. Now that we've spoken about the how to peek, let's talk about the why. Why did you feel the need to sort of take that engagement? Because when you're defending, you don't need to. You don't need to play aggressively. In fact, playing aggressively like Dins does here is putting your team's chance of winning really in the balance. Let's say that in this engagement, Dins beats up the Sage and kills her. If he puts his team in a 5 versus 4, he may even kill the person that's carrying the spike, could even kill a couple of people. But is it worth the risk that he puts himself in? Especially when you compare that to what happens if Dins gets killed in this 1v1 engagement like he did. Let's say that I'm the Sage player here. I killed Dins in this position. What I am then shouting at my team is, I just got a kill onto B guys, let's push that. Not only does Dins dying here give his team a disadvantage in numbers, but also a disadvantage in map control. So what do pros do? Well, they don't take these engagements. They also let their utility do the brunt of the hard work, which is something that I'll come back to. This is where I wanted to look at some gameplay from Hika's perspective as somebody that's played a lot of the game and definitely knows his way around it. He played the similar position that Dins was playing on Bind, but he never held in that room and he never aggressively pushed when he was defending. In fact, he held a bit more passively on the site, holding an angle for them to push out on. Just goes to show that you don't need to play aggressively on the defense. Even giving up hookah isn't necessarily a bad play. Certainly not as bad as trying to engage when you don't need to. Coming back to the whole using utility to do the hard work, I wanted to use this example with the Cypher Cam. You could put the Cypher camera around here, which provides intel on if hookah is safe, and if not, who is in there and where they are. If they destroy that camera, it's fair to say that they're dedicated to pushing on to B, I think, at that point. The more high-ranked streamers or pro tournaments that I see, the less people I see standing in hookah, never mind pushing more aggressively onto ramp, only 10 or 20 seconds into the round. It's not like this engagement that Dins is trying to take is 100% bad all of the time. Of course, it's situational, but for you to decide what situations this is good to do in, you need to ask yourself how much of a gamble this is, how much does you dying right now damage your team's chances of winning, and if you're not sure, it's better to just try and disengage and play safe. Better to be safe than sorry, right? So this isn't just your quick fire tips. This is some really heavy stuff that I felt I really wanted to mention. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And also shout out to Omen for helping support this video. Like I said at the start of the video, we've not done anything like this before, but I really enjoyed making the analytical Overwatch League content that we made in the past. We can't really do that with the esports scene in Valorant because it's still very fledgling. So until then, I just wanted to look at how well-known streamers and even some pro players now on the scene play the game and comparing that to what somebody that's very new to the game may do and what they can learn from watching it. I learned a lot on how to play Counter-Strike by watching a Liege. Now I want to help you guys learn similar stuff with the help of Omen with this kind of format. Like I said, let me know if you like it. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.